You think the reason your life feels stuck is because of your job, your boss, your relationship, or maybe the economy. But what if the real problem has nothing to do with them and everything to do with your mind? You think change will happen once you finally feel motivated, inspired, or ready. But what if waiting for motivation is the very thing keeping you weak? You think life collapses because of events: losing a job, a breakup, failure. But what if the truth is even harsher? Events don't break you. Your reactions do. That's why Stoicism has never been more relevant than it is right now. Because in a world that constantly screams at you to complain, to explain, to drown in distractions, Stoicism reminds you of one brutal fact. You are the one in control. Not your boss, not the economy, not your past, not even your emotions. Fix your mind, and your life will follow. Ignore your mind, and nothing will ever change, no matter how much you chase outside solutions. But let me be clear, what you're about to hear is not soft, cozy advice. It won't pat you on the back and tell you everything will be fine. These are brutal truths. They are meant to challenge you, not comfort you. They are designed to break down your illusions, punch your ego in the face, and remind you that weakness is not something to manage, it's something to kill. If you're looking for sugar-coated optimism, you won't find it here. If you're tired of being stuck, tired of living like a victim of every little feeling, then you're exactly where you need to be. In the next minutes, we're going to walk through 10 Stoic rules that can rewire the way you think and, more importantly, the way you live. They're pulled from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and the core of Stoic philosophy, but translated into simple, modern language anyone can apply. You won't need a philosophy degree. What you'll need is the courage to hear what hurts and apply it anyway. These rules will cover the fundamentals: killing your weakness before it kills you, controlling your reactions instead of being controlled, doing the hard things when every part of you wants comfort, mastering your focus in a world of noise, and breaking free from the prison of seeking approval. You'll learn why silence is power, why mistakes are not shame but fuel, why discomfort is your greatest teacher, why discipline always beats motivation, and why alignment between your words and your actions is the only way to build self-respect. Think of this as a battlefield guide, not a bedtime story. The Stoics weren't armchair philosophers. They weren't writing just to sound wise. They lived through exile, war, betrayal, disease, and loss. And still they carved out principles that made them stronger instead of weaker. They didn't collapse when things got hard. They used pain as their forge. They used silence as their weapon. They used self-mastery as their shield. And so can you. So here's the choice in front of you right now. You can keep blaming the world, keep waiting for the perfect timing, keep explaining away your lack of progress, or you can face the brutal truth. Your life won't change until you change your mind. Every excuse you cling to is a chain. Every discipline you practice is a key. Which will you choose? If you're ready, then here's what I want you to do. Say this to yourself, out loud if you can. I will no longer live at the mercy of my emotions. I fix my mind. I fix my life. That's not just a phrase, it's a contract. From this moment forward, you're not here to talk about change. You're here to live it. So let's begin. 10 brutal Stoic rules. 10 weapons for your mind. 10 truths that will hurt before they heal. But if you apply them, if you let them cut through your excuses, they will change everything. Not tomorrow, not someday. Starting now. Every day, you are given two choices: rise like a warrior or fold like a slave to your weakness. And most people don't even realize how often they choose the second option. It happens in small moments, the ones you dismiss as harmless. You wake up and your alarm goes off. A voice inside whispers, 5 more minutes. That's weakness negotiating with you. You say, "I'll start my diet tomorrow." Weakness wins again. You text that toxic person one more time, promising yourself it's the last. Another deal with weakness signed. What you don't see is that every deal comes with a price. Weakness never leaves empty-handed. It takes your discipline, your dignity, and eventually your identity. Because the more you let it win, the more you become it. You can't keep folding and expect to stand tall. You can't keep making excuses and expect to grow strong. Marcus Aurelius said you must build your life action by action, and that no one can stop you from this but yourself. The truth is brutal but simple. Your strongest self is not buried under some mystery, it's buried under your comfort. It's suffocating beneath the weight of just one more time. If you want to fix your life, you have to stop reasoning with weakness like it's a friend and start treating it like the enemy it is. The Stoics didn't chase comfort. They trained for adversity because they knew comfort was a liar. Seneca would sleep on hard floors and wear rough clothes to remind himself how soft the mind becomes when it forgets discomfort. Epictetus, born a slave, understood that pain resisted becomes strengthened. They practiced deliberately what most of us spend our lives avoiding. Look at modern life. Everything is designed for comfort. Endless entertainment, food delivered to your door, apps to do your thinking, endless excuses available at your fingertips. And yet, despite all this convenience, people feel weaker than ever. Why? Because the more you indulge weakness, the more powerless you become. The brain learns that comfort is survival, and once it believes that, it will fight every form of discomfort as if it's death. But here's the truth. The warrior version of you is not hiding, it's waiting. Waiting for you to stop feeding weakness. Waiting for you to shut down the negotiations and stand up with discipline. Every time you choose discomfort over excuses, you kill the weaker version of yourself. Every time you resist, even for one small moment, you carve out strength where there used to be surrender. So what does this look like in practice? When the alarm rings, you don't argue, you rise. When temptation whispers, you don't debate, you shut it down. When your emotions beg you to scroll, to binge, to numb yourself, you don't make excuses, you act against them. Because every time you delay your potential, you aren't just wasting time, you're betraying your future. It doesn't matter how far behind you feel, how many times you failed, or how many years you've wasted. The moment you stop negotiating with weakness is the moment your healing begins. Strength is not built in speeches. It's built in the silence of choosing discipline over comfort. And once you choose enough times, you'll realize something powerful. Weakness only wins when you let it speak. Cut off the conversation and it dies. So the next time weakness comes knocking, don't invite it in for a talk. Don't reason with it. Don't explain yourself. Look it in the eye and say, "Not today." Then act. That's how warriors are built, decision by decision, action by action, moment by moment. Stop negotiating. Start living. To people hear the same insult. One shrugs, maybe even laughs. The other carries it like a knife in the chest for weeks. Same words, same moment, completely different outcomes. Why? Because it's never the insult that breaks you, it's your reaction. The same is true for every traffic jam, every breakup, every rude coworker, every failure. The events themselves are neutral. It's the story you attach to them, the way you choose to respond, that decides whether they ruin you or strengthen you. Most people live as emotional slaves. Their peace is up for auction. One comment online hijacks their day. One look from a stranger steals their confidence. One inconvenience flips their mood. They hand over control of their life to everyone around them. Then they wonder why they feel powerless. Stoicism flips the script. Epictetus said it clearly. It's not things themselves that disturb us. but our opinions about them. Which means the battlefield is not up there, it's in here, in your own mind. Think about how predictable most people are. You press the right button, they explode. You insult them, they rage. You ignore them, they panic. It doesn't take much to manipulate someone who cannot control their reactions. They are puppets waiting for strings. And as long as you are easily provoked, you will never be free. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not just philosophy, it's survival. Because once you control your reactions, no one can control you. They can shout, they can gossip, they can betray, but your response belongs to you alone. And when your response is deliberate instead of automatic, you become untouchable. So how do you build this kind of strength? Start with the pause. When your chest tightens, when anger rises, when anxiety spikes, step back mentally. Breathe. Ask yourself, what part of this can I actually control? Most of the time, the answer is nothing external. You can't control the traffic, the weather, or the past, but you can control your interpretation. And that changes everything. Next, separate facts from stories. She said something rude. That's a fact. I'm worthless. I'll never be respected. That's a story you created. The Stoics trained themselves to see reality stripped of exaggeration, without the fog of emotion. The clearer you see, the calmer you become. Finally, reclaim your peace. Peace doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop being shaken by every small wave. It means you choose calm power over frantic reaction. It means you recognize that your response is always your responsibility. That is the essence of emotional strength. The truth is, people who master their reactions become dangerous in the best way. They can't be baited. They don't crumble under pressure. They don't hand over control of their life to strangers or enemies. They choose their moves carefully, and that makes them unpredictable, steady, and free. So the next time someone tries to push your buttons, remember this: their words are powerless unless you give them power. Their actions don't define you, but how you respond always does. If you want to fix your life, stop reacting to everything like your piece is for sale. Hold your center. Choose your response like a warrior preparing for a battle. Deliberate, sharp, grounded. Because the one who controls their reactions doesn't just survive life, they own it. Most people already know what they need to do to change their life. Wake up earlier, cut off toxic people, move their body, learn a new skill, stay disciplined with money, say no to distractions. But knowing and doing are not the same thing. The gap between the life you want and the life you have is not knowledge, it's courage. And the brutal truth is this: most people wait for the right feeling before they act. They wait until they feel ready, motivated, inspired. But feelings are liars. If you only move when it's comfortable, you'll never move far. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't wait for comfort. They trained themselves to embrace discomfort because they knew strength lives on the other side of resistance. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Meaning, if you want to grow, be ready to look awkward. Be ready to stumble. Be ready to push through when everything inside screams stop. Seneca reminded us that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. How many times have you talked yourself out of action because of fear that existed only in your head? Look at your own life. How many mornings have you skipped the gym because you didn't feel like going? How many times have you avoided a tough conversation because you didn't feel confident enough? How many dreams have you postponed because you didn't feel ready? Each time you wait for the right mood, you strengthen weakness and starve discipline. Motivation is a mood. Discipline is a decision. That's the difference between the weak and the strong. Think about training your body. Muscles don't grow in comfort, they grow by being torn and rebuilt. The same is true for your mind. The growth you crave will come from showing up when you least want to. Every time you take action despite resistance, you send a message to yourself. I am stronger than my feelings, and slowly, you stop being controlled by moods and start being defined by discipline. Modern life makes this harder than ever. Everywhere you turn, there's an easier option. Fast food instead of cooking, scrolling instead of studying, binge watching instead of sleeping. And every time you choose easy, you reinforce weakness. You teach yourself that the goal of life is comfort, and comfort quietly kills ambition. The Stoics flipped that idea. They practiced voluntary discomfort, eating simple food, walking in the cold, training their bodies to endure hardships so that when real challenges came, they were prepared. So here's the brutal truth. You will never feel ready to change your life. There will always be a reason to wait. But waiting costs you years you'll never get back. Growth is ugly, growth is painful, growth is lonely, but every moment of discomfort is a seed of strength. Every hard thing you do now becomes the foundation of the future you want. So stop negotiating with comfort. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop imagining that tomorrow will feel easier. It won't. The warrior inside you is built by doing the hard things today, especially when you don't feel like it. That's where the battle is won, not in your imagination, not in your intentions, but in your actions. When the alarm rings, get up. When fear whispers, step forward. When comfort calls, walk away. Do the hard things, because that's where your strength is waiting. We live in a world that never stops shouting. Notifications buzz, headlines scream, ads chase you across every screen, and 1,000 opinions demand your attention every single day. And then we wonder why we feel anxious, scattered, and disconnected. The truth is brutal. You cannot fix your life if your mind is scattered. A distracted mind becomes a wasted life. Seneca said, "If you are everywhere, you are nowhere." That's exactly what's happening to most people today. They try to do a little of everything, scrolling, texting, multitasking, yet accomplish nothing meaningful. Their energy is spent in fragments. Their attention is hijacked by noise. They mistake constant movement for progress. But progress only comes through focus. Think about it. When was the last time you gave something your undivided attention for even 1 hour? No phone. No interruptions, just you and the task in front of you. Chances are it's rare, because distraction has become the default. And here's the cost. When your attention is fractured, your future is fractured. What you give your attention to, you give your life to. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Concentrate every minute like a Roman on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness." He didn't say scroll for inspiration. He didn't say chase 10 things at once. He said concentrate. Because a mind that can hold its focus is a mind that can move mountains. Look at modern psychology. Researchers talk about attention residue. Every time you switch tasks, part of your brain stays stuck on the last one. So even when you think you're multitasking, you're really just carrying unfinished fragments of focus everywhere. No wonder people feel mentally exhausted yet strangely unproductive. The problem isn't laziness, it's noise. And noise isn't just digital. It's also gossip, drama, useless conversations, endless worrying about things outside your control. All of it steals energy that could have gone into building something real. The Stoics were ruthless about cutting this kind of noise. They asked one question again and again. Does this matter? If the answer was no, they dropped it. Because every ounce of energy spent on the trivial is energy stolen from what matters most. So how do you master your focus in a noisy world? First, cut the digital noise. Turn off notifications that don't serve you. Set boundaries with social media. Don't let your phone become your leash. Second, create sacred space for deep work. Even 60 minutes a day of undistracted focus can change everything. Third, train your attention like a muscle. Practice being present in small things: eating, walking, reading. The more you train presence in the little moments, the more you'll command it in the big ones. Here's the brutal truth. Most people aren't addicted to laziness. They're addicted to noise. They can't sit in silence. They can't walk without music in their ears. They can't stay with a task long enough to master it. But if you want to fix your life, you must. Because a focused person is a dangerous person. Focus gives you clarity. Focus gives you momentum. Focus makes you unstoppable. So starting today, stop giving your energy to noise. Cut the meaningless. Silence the distractions. Pour your attention into what actually builds your future. Your ability to fix your life will rise or fall with your ability to master your focus. Own your attention, and you own your world. One of the most brutal truths the Stoics force us to face is this: the more you crave approval, the weaker you become. And yet, most people live their entire lives chained to other people's opinions. They dress for approval. They speak for approval. They choose jobs, relationships, even hobbies based on how others will react. They don't live for themselves. They live as performers on someone else's stage. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Think about that. You already know what feels right for you, but you bury it under the weight of what others might say. You sacrifice your truth for their applause. And the irony, that applause is never enough. Even when you get it, it fades quickly, leaving you chasing it again like an addict chasing the next high dot. If you want proof, look around. How many people brag online about their lives, curating a perfect image, only to feel empty the moment the likes stop? How many dreams are delayed or destroyed because someone feared looking foolish in front of friends or family? Approval seeking doesn't just waste your energy, it steals your future. The Stoics knew that the path to freedom is paved with indifference to public opinion. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That means if you fear being laughed at, judged, or misunderstood, you'll never rise above average. Every great thinker, every innovator, every leader has been ridiculed. The difference is, they kept going. They chose progress over popularity. Think about Van Gogh. He painted with relentless passion. Yet in his lifetime, he was dismissed, mocked, misunderstood. He could have stopped, crushed by the lack of approval. But he didn't. He kept creating. And long after his death, the world finally caught up. His story proves what Stoicism teaches. You don't need applause to live truthfully. You only need alignment with your own values. The moment you stop chasing approval, you become powerful. You stop waiting, you act. You stop begging, you build. You stop explaining, you evolve. And that terrifies people who are still trapped in the cycle of needing to be liked. Your growth will make them uncomfortable. Your discipline will expose their laziness. Your boundaries will challenge their comfort zone. Don't let their discomfort chain you. Here's the reality. No one is coming to save you. No one is obligated to believe in you. And no one can give you permission to become who you're meant to be except you. Approval is an illusion. Freedom comes when you drop the need for a dot. So ask yourself today, how much of your life is wasted trying to be understood? How many times have you silenced yourself just to be accepted? How often have you played small just to fit in? Every time you do, you betray yourself. But every time you choose truth over applause, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. The Stoic path is not about being liked. It's about being unshakable. So let them laugh. Let them misunderstand. Let them doubt. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to keep walking, even if the road is lonely. Because the road to greatness is often walked alone. And that's not tragedy, that's power. Stop seeking approval. Stop waiting for permission. Start living as if the only audience that matters is your own soul. Because when you do, you'll finally feel the weight of freedom. We live in an age where everyone wants to be heard. People post, argue, explain, and defend themselves endlessly. The world has become a constant noise chamber, with voices battling for attention like waves crashing on rocks. And in that storm, silence feels almost alien. But the Stoics knew the truth. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. Why? Because the one who speaks less listens more. The one who listens more learns faster. And the one who learns faster grows stronger. Silence isn't about being invisible, it's about being deliberate. The more you talk, the more you reveal. You reveal your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, even your strategies. But when you stay silent, people can't read you. They can't predict you. And unpredictability is power. Epictetus warned that not everything needs to be said. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the more we value what lies outside our control, the less control we have. One of the first things outside your control is how people interpret your words. Once spoken, words are no longer yours. They can be twisted, misunderstood, or used against you. Silence, on the other hand, cannot be distorted. It protects you. Think about gossip. People often ruin themselves not through their enemies' words, but through their own. They overshare. They brag. They reveal things that should have stayed private. Later, those same words return like weapons. The Stoic response: say less, hold your peace, let action speak. A person who overshares is easy to disarm. A person who keeps their cards close is untouchable. Look at how silence works in negotiation. The inexperienced talk too much, trying to convince, trying to fill the space. The skilled negotiator stays quiet, letting the other side reveal themselves, their fears, their needs. Silence creates pressure. It makes people uncomfortable, and in that discomfort, they often give away more than they should. What looks passive is actually control. Modern life has made silence rare. Social media pressures us to share everything, our thoughts, our struggles, our victories, until nothing sacred is left. But the more you speak, the more you dilute the weight of your words. When you are always talking, your voice becomes background noise. When you are selective, when you speak only what is necessary, your words carry authority. This doesn't mean you should never speak. Silence doesn't mean passivity. It means speaking with intention, not compulsion. It means choosing clarity over chatter, restraint over reaction. The Stoic who holds their tongue doesn't lose power, they gain it. Because when they finally speak, people listen. So how do you practice silence? First, get comfortable with not responding immediately. Not every insult needs an answer. Not every message needs a reply. Let time do the talking. Second, accept being misunderstood. You don't need to clear your name to everyone. Let your actions defend you. Third, shift your focus from performing to becoming. Stop broadcasting your plans. Build them quietly. Stop defending your worth. Live it in silence. When you master silence, you master yourself. You stop leaking energy through unnecessary words. You stop reacting to every provocation. You stop giving your enemies weapons to use against you. And most importantly, you let your actions grow so loud that silence becomes your greatest speech. So let others chatter. Let them explain, justify, and drown in noise. You stay silent, stay steady, stay strong. Let your silence terrify the insecure and inspire the disciplined. Because silence isn't emptiness. It's power refined. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone stumbles, wastes time, falls short, betrays their own standards at some point. The difference between people who stay broken and people who rebuild themselves comes down to one thing: ownership. Do you face your mistakes like a warrior, or do you run from them like a coward? Most people choose the second path. They blame others, they justify, they distract themselves with entertainment, or they sugarcoat the truth with fake positivity. But every time you refuse ownership, you hand away your power to change. The Stoics saw this with brutal clarity. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Your mistakes are not proof that you're finished, they are proof that you're being shaped. Without them, there is no growth. Without them, there is no resilience." But here's the trap. Most people bury their mistakes under shame. Shame whispers, "You are broken. You are worthless. You can never rise." And the more you listen, the more you become stuck. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Shame is wasted energy. What matters is responsibility. When you say, "Yes, I failed. Yes, I wasted time. Yes, I betrayed myself," you're not digging a grave, you're laying a foundation. Because ownership turns failure into fuel. The moment you own your mistake, it no longer owns you. Think of addiction recovery. The first step is always admitting the truth. I have a problem. Without that, nothing changes. The denial is more destructive than the habit itself. Or think about someone in a toxic relationship. Years are wasted hoping the other person will change. But real transformation only begins when they say, "I choose this. I stayed, I ignored the red flags, and now I choose differently." Ownership is brutal, but it's also freeing. Marcus Aurelius didn't pretend to be flawless. In his meditations, he confessed his weaknesses, reminded himself of his flaws, and held himself accountable. That's why his words still inspire today. He didn't write as a perfect emperor. He wrote as a man fighting to be better. That honesty is what made him powerful. So how do you practice this in your own life? Step 1. Drop the excuses. Stop saying, "I was tired," or "It wasn't my fault," or "They made me do it." Excuses are poison. Step 2. Tell the truth, at least to yourself. Write it down if you must. Say it out loud if you can. Step 3. Rise. Ownership is not about drowning in regret. It's about saying, "I failed yesterday, but today I rise differently." Remember this, perfection is not the Stoic goal. Strength is, and strength comes from scars, not from a spotless record. Stop hiding your wounds. They are not shameful, they're evidence that you fought, you lived, you learned. Stop fearing mistakes. Fear dishonesty. Fear excuses. Fear the slow decay that comes from never admitting the truth. So the next time you fall, don't waste time in denial. Don't bury it under shame. Own it. And then rise with more clarity than before. Because every mistake you own becomes a stepping stone toward the version of yourself that cannot be broken. Most people spend their entire lives running from discomfort. They avoid the cold, the silence, the awkward conversation, the heavy workout, the lonely hour of self-reflection. They think comfort equals happiness, but it's a lie. Comfort is addictive, and the more you chase it, the weaker you become. Discomfort, on the other hand, is the classroom where strength is taught. If you want to fix your mind, you must stop fearing discomfort and start learning from it. The Stoics practiced this intentionally. Seneca would wear rough clothes and eat plain food, asking himself, "Is this what I feared?" Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to rise early, even when his body screamed for more sleep, because life was not given for indulgence but for duty. Epictetus, born into slavery, endured suffering daily, but instead of being broken by it, he turned hardship into wisdom. For the Stoics, discomfort was not punishment, it was training. Think about your own life. How many times have you avoided discomfort only to make things worse later? You avoided the doctor, and the problem grew. You avoided the gym, and your health declined. You avoided the hard conversation and the relationship rotted. The discomfort you run from today becomes the suffering you cannot escape tomorrow. But the discomfort you face today becomes the strength you carry tomorrow. Modern science agrees. Psychologists talk about stress inoculation. Exposing yourself to manageable stress makes you resilient against bigger challenges. Soldiers train in brutal conditions not because they enjoy pain, but because the body and mind adapt. Athletes push through exhaustion because that's how muscles grow. The principle is the same everywhere. Discomfort is not your enemy, it is your tutor. But our world has twisted the lesson. Everything is designed to keep you numb. Endless scrolling to distract you. Endless delivery to feed you. Endless entertainment to sedate you. And then we wonder why anxiety and depression rise while resilience falls. The human spirit was built for a challenge, not sedation. When you deny yourself discomfort, you deny yourself growth. Here's the paradox. The moment you lean into discomfort, it loses its power to scare you. Cold showers stop feeling unbearable. Hard workouts become exhilarating. Tough conversations bring clarity instead of dread. Even heartbreak, once faced fully, teaches you depth and compassion. Discomfort strips away illusions and shows you what you're really made of. So how do you embrace discomfort? Start small. Choose the harder option once a day. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Leave your phone in another room while you work. Say no when it would be easier to please. Each act is a small rehearsal for life's bigger battles. Over time, your tolerance expands. You stop crumbling under stress because stress has become your training ground. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it." Stop complaining. That's the heart of Stoicism. Most of what you fear, you can endure. Most of what you avoid, you can survive. And once you survive it, you grow stronger than you were before. So stop running. Stop hiding. Stop pretending comfort will save you. It won't. Comfort will soften you until life shatters you. Discomfort will harden you until nothing can break you. Treat every moment of resistance as a lesson. Treat every hardship as a teacher. And one day, you'll realize the classroom of discomfort has given you a diploma in strength that no easy path could ever provide. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when life feels exciting, when energy is high, when the mood is right. But the moment things get heavy, motivation disappears. That's why so many people start strong and finish weak. They rely on a feeling that was never designed to last. The Stoics knew better. They didn't depend on moods, they built discipline. And discipline, unlike motivation, doesn't care how you feel. Marcus Aurelius didn't write in his meditations, "I'll only fulfill my duty if I feel like it." He reminded himself at dawn. When you have trouble getting out of bed, remember your purpose as a human being. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't wait for inspiration. He acted from principle, not mood. That is discipline. Think about how much of your life is delayed because you're waiting for motivation. You want to get in shape, but you wait until you feel ready. You want to launch a project, but you wait until you're inspired. You want to fix your relationships, but you wait for the perfect moment, and in all that waiting, you slip away. Discipline ends that cycle. Discipline says, I don't need to feel like it. I need to do it. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Habits are stored in the basal ganglia, the part of the brain that doesn't care about emotion. Once you train yourself to act consistently, the behavior becomes automatic. Discipline rewires your brain until the hard things no longer require debate. They're simply what you do. Look at athletes. Champions aren't the ones who train when they're motivated. They're the ones who train when they're tired, bored, sore, or uninspired. Discipline gets them through the days motivation abandons them. Look at soldiers. They don't wait for a motivation to follow orders. They rely on structure, on routine, on discipline. That's why they can endure conditions that would break ordinary people. Motivation is like a spark. It feels powerful, but burns out quickly. Discipline is the fire you build brick by brick, fueled by action, not feeling. And the longer you feed it, the stronger it grows. That's why discipline is freedom. When you live by discipline, you no longer depend on the weather of your emotions. You act regardless, and that makes you unstoppable. So how do you build discipline? Start small. Choose one non-negotiable action each day. Maybe it's waking up at the same time. Maybe it's doing 10 push-ups. Maybe it's writing 1 page. The action doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Over time, you stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start saying, "This is who I am." That's when the shift happens. The brutal truth is this: if you rely on motivation, your life will always be inconsistent. If you build discipline, your life will always move forward. One path is fragile, the other unshakable. One is emotional, the other eternal. And you have the power to choose. So stop waiting for the right mood. Stop praying for motivation to strike. Start building discipline today. Because the warrior who relies on motivation will crumble when it fades. But the warrior who builds discipline will rise no matter what. So many people live double lives. There's the life inside their head full of dreams, promises, goals, and endless plans. And then there's the life outside the reality where nothing changes, where action never matches intention. They talk about what they'll do. They imagine who they'll become. But the gap between fantasy and reality never closes. The Stoics saw this clearly. Your mind is not meant to be a stage for daydreams. It is meant to be a workshop for alignment. Marcus Aurelius warned himself, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That's not a suggestion, it's a command. Stop debating, stop rehearsing, stop living in theory. The only proof of your values is in your actions. If you want to be disciplined, practice discipline. If you want to be courageous, act courageously. If you want to be wise, live with wisdom. Otherwise, your values are just decoration. The problem with living in your head, that it feels safe. You can imagine success without risking failure. You can picture discipline without facing discomfort. You can dream of courage without ever stepping into fear. But safety is an illusion. Every day you delay, your life shrinks. Every day you stay in your head, the distance between who you are and who you want to be grows wider. Think about how many people talk endlessly about starting something, a business, a book, a healthier lifestyle. They analyze, they research, they tell everyone about their plans. But months pass, years pass, and nothing is built. Why? Because thinking became a substitute for acting. They confused intention with execution, and intention without execution is self-betrayal. Stoicism teaches the opposite: alignment. Words, thoughts, and actions must point in the same direction. That is integrity. That is strength. And the more you practice alignment, the more peace you gain. Because the worst prison is not built by others, it's built by living out of sync with your own values. Nothing torments the mind more than knowing what you should do and refusing to do it. Modern psychology calls this cognitive dissonance the stress that comes when your actions don't match your beliefs. It's why people feel anxious, guilty, or restless even when nothing external is wrong. The mind knows the truth. You're lying to yourself, and no amount of distraction can erase that. The cure is simple, but brutal. Stop living in your head and start living in alignment. So how do you do this? Begin by shrinking the gap. Don't promise yourself huge transformations. Pick one value and embody it today. If honesty is important, tell the truth in the next conversation. If discipline is important, follow through on the next action. If courage is important, step into the next fear. Align thought with action, moment by moment, until it becomes who you are. Remember, life doesn't reward your intentions. It rewards your execution. The Stoics didn't become strong by imagining resilience. They became strong by practicing it daily, in silence, in difficulty, in discomfort. And so can you. So stop living to lives. Stop hiding in fantasies. Stop mistaking endless planning for progress. Live in alignment. Make your actions match your words. Your reality match your values. Because when your inner life and outer life move as one, you stop being torn in half. You stop being restless. You start being whole. And that's where true strength begins. You've now walked through 10 brutal Stoic rules. And if you were really listening, you already know these aren't just ideas to admire, their weapons to use. Stop negotiating with your weakness. Control your reactions. Do the hard things, especially when you don't feel like it. Cut the noise and master your focus. Stop seeking approval. Understand that silence is power. Own your mistakes without shame. Embrace discomfort as your teacher. Build discipline that outlasts motivation. And most importantly, stop living in your head, live in alignment. Each of these rules is simple. None of them require special talent, money, or privilege. But they all demand one thing: courage. The courage to stop lying to yourself. The courage to choose action over comfort. The courage to disappoint others so you can finally stop disappointing yourself. The courage to live as if your destiny actually matters. Look back on your life for a moment. How much time has been wasted waiting to feel ready? How many opportunities have slipped through your hands because you wanted applause instead of progress? How often have you silenced yourself out of fear of judgment? All of that ends the moment you decide to live by these rules. You don't need a new year. You don't need permission. You don't need another motivational video. You need to choose, right now. The Stoics faced exile, betrayal, slavery, war, disease. They had every excuse to collapse, and they didn't. They built unshakable minds in a world far harsher than ours. And that's why their wisdom still matters today. If they could endure the storms of their time, you can endure the noise, the setbacks, and the temptations of yours. But here's the warning. These rules only work if you apply them. Knowledge without action is just another form of weakness. You don't need to master all 10 rules today. Pick one, just one. Live it for the next week. Then add another, brick by brick, action by action. You will start building the version of yourself that cannot be broken. And here's your first chance to act. If this message hit you, don't just move on to the next distraction. Leave a comment with this phrase: I fix my mind. I fix my life. Write it down, not for me, but for yourself. That's your first declaration of alignment. Not a vague promise, but a line in the sand. And if you're serious about walking this path, subscribe to StoicCraft. Every week we dive deeper into the wisdom of the Stoics and show how it applies to the chaos of modern life relationships, work, discipline, self-mastery. This is not about theory. It's about practice. It's about training your mind until strength becomes your default. Your life doesn't change when you talk about change. It changes when you act. So stop waiting for the right mood. Stop looking for permission. Stop living double lives. Start today. One rule, one action, one step forward. That's how you build strength. That's how you earn peace. That's how you fix your life. Because in the end, there's no one else to do it for you. No one can fight your weakness. No one can control your reactions. No one can walk your path. This is your battle. This is your responsibility. And it starts right now with you.